What you observe, how you observe, and from where you observe is activating invisible codes that are shaping your time, your energy, and your entire reality. This is happening right now, as you listen to these words. Even if until today you believed that life simply happens to you, there is an invisible, sensitive, and highly responsive field that reacts not to what you desire, but to the way you look at everything you experience. And maybe this has been the part you never noticed. Your observation is a creative tool. It is not passive. It is not neutral. It is not harmless. Every gaze, every focus, every sustained thought is decoding possibilities and generating realities. The universe, time, and matter are organizing themselves around the vibrational quality with which you perceive what happens. What you call an obstacle may just be a reflection of an observation filled with fear. What you feel as stagnation may be the echo of a gaze conditioned by doubt. The good news is that today, you will discover exactly what the 6 hidden codes are that are active within your observation. And by understanding this, maybe for the first time, you can start bending time, directing energy, and shaping reality, not through effort, but through presence. There is something almost no one has told you about focus, and it's not about productivity, nor about mental discipline. What we are talking about here is the field, vibration, how reality organizes itself around your ability to sustain observation without dispersion. Most people live in a state of fragmented attention. Every second, thoughts change direction, feelings fluctuate, and the mind jumps from one scenario to another as if in a desperate search for quick answers. But what few realize is that this fragmentation of attention creates a distortion in the vibrational field that prevents the collapse of possibilities in favor of the observer. The universe does not respond to what you look at for a few seconds. It does not move at the whim of fleeting thoughts or superficial desires. There is a subtle intelligence that only activates when your consciousness can remain sustaining the gaze in a specific energetic direction with real presence. And this presence is not made of effort. It is made of emotional consistency. Imagine a beam of light passing through glass. If this beam remains stable, the energy is able to penetrate dense layers, creating a tangible change in the environment. But if this light oscillates, goes out and turns on again every moment, it never generates heat. It never provokes real transformation. This is your focus. This is your observation. When you keep your internal gaze on an intention, an emotion, or a choice, without getting lost in emotional or mental distractions, you begin to create a resonance in the field. Small synchronicities arise, people appear. The flow, which once seemed stagnant, starts to reorganize, not by chance, not by luck, but because the field is responding to your sustained state of presence. And it is important to understand, sustaining focus does not mean thinking about the same thing all the time. It means maintaining vibrational coherence. It's about feeling, thinking, and acting within the same frequency, without allowing doubt or fear to destabilize what you intend to create. Your gaze is like a code, and the universe reads this code all the time. Maybe you've already experienced moments like this, even without realizing it. Those phases when, for some reason, you were so connected to a purpose or a desire that everything seemed to conspire in your favor. The answers came quickly, doors opened, solutions seemed to fall from the sky. That was not a coincidence. It was your consciousness sustaining a cohesive field that activated the collapse of favorable probabilities. But in the same way, you must also have felt the opposite. Moments when the mind wavered between wanting and not wanting, between trusting and doubting, between acting and freezing. And in those moments, reality also responded. Only with blockages, delays, confusion, and contradictory signs. The field just followed the frequency you were emitting. There is a sentence that can summarize this first code simply and directly. The universe does not respond to what you look at for seconds, but to what you sustain with presence. This sustainment is what bends the field. It is what makes time seem to accelerate. Opportunities appear, and the right connections materialize. And maybe what you need now is not to do more, but to look differently and remain in that gaze with inner truth. There's no point in wishing for a new cycle if your attention keeps returning several times a day to the same stories of fear, scarcity, and doubt. The field is just following the script of your own observation. There is a subtle trap that keeps most people stuck in repetitive cycles of suffering and stagnation. This trap is not visible, it's not physical, and often it's not even consciously perceived. It is hidden in the way you interpret what happens to you. At the exact moment you look at a situation and immediately decide what it means. Judgment is one of the most blocking forces in the vibrational field. And we're not just talking about external criticism or opinions about others. We're talking about the automatic, conditioned, and emotionally charged way in which you label events, feelings, and even yourself. Every judgment is a fixation of energy. Every time you judge, you freeze the flow. You may not notice, but in fractions of a second, your mind defines, this is good, this is bad, this is a problem, this is an opportunity, this is a mistake, this is unfair. And from that label, your frequency aligns with the meaning you attribute it. If you label something as suffering, your vibration dives into resistance. If you call it failure, the field echoes this vibration of loss and lack. And that's where the looping is born. Because the universe does not respond to the fact. It responds to your vibrational reading of the fact. The reality you live is not a direct reflection of events, but a mirror of the energy you emit based on how you choose to observe these events. That's why some people can go through challenges with lightness and transformation, while others remain stuck in the same cycles of pain for years. The difference lies in the space between what happens and what you decide to feel and mean about what happened. That space is where your freedom is born. Neutral observation is exactly that space. It is the moment when you become aware that something is happening, but choose not to react with immediate judgment. You observe, recognize, but do not label. You don't call it a problem. You don't call it punishment. You don't call it failure. You simply observe, with presence, with curiosity, with openness. And what happens when you do that? The energy that was previously stuck begins to move. Situations that seemed blocked find new paths. Unexpected solutions arise. Your mind becomes clearer, lighter, more intuitive, because the field, finally, has space to reorganize the frequencies. In practice, it's as if you're untying the knots you created inside yourself. Every judgment you made in recent days, weeks, years, was like tying a vibrational knot in the flow of your life. And now, by choosing to observe neutrally, you begin to untie these knots, without rush, without guilt, just with presence. And here comes a truth that may hurt, but can also liberate. Many times, what binds you the most is not what happened, but what you decided to feel about what happened. Prolonged suffering is born from attachment to the negative meaning you yourself built. That's why, next time something provokes you, before reacting, just stop. Breathe. Observe what's happening inside you. Ask yourself, do I really need to label this now? Can I just feel without defining? Can I just look without holding? This simple but extremely powerful practice is one of the greatest acts of vibrational liberation you can perform. Because when you suspend judgment, you release the trapped energy and give the universe back the power to rebalance the field. And maybe it's precisely in this space of neutrality that true transformation begins. Because when you stop fighting what you feel, when you stop creating stories about what you experience, something new starts to happen. You begin to choose, consciously, what you wish to vibrate from now on. Perhaps the greatest mistake you've carried until today is the idea that your reality changes only through the things you do. Effort, goals, plans, All of that has its value. But there is a prior force, more subtle, more decisive, that acts long before any physical action takes place. This force is born from the quality with which you are present, and from the intention you place within that presence. Intentional presence is not just being here, now. It's being here, with awareness, with clarity, with an active vibrational choice. It is the moment when your observation ceases to be just a passive record of reality and becomes a creative act, a silent gesture, yet capable of altering the field. While the common mind observes the world as if it were an audience watching a movie, the awakened consciousness understands that the gaze is also a vibrational statement. Every time you look at something and feel and sustain that gaze with intention, you are emitting a signal. You are coding a direction. You are telling the universe, this is where I want the energy to flow. But what does it mean? In practical terms, to live with intentional presence, it means choosing what you vibrate before choosing what you do. It means realizing that the field does not respond only to your words, but to the silent coherence between what you feel, what you think, and what you observe. Imagine that you want more abundance in your life. It's not enough to look at your bank account and feel scarcity. It's not enough to act out of fear, trying to force results. The change begins when, even in the face of a low balance, you choose to observe that reality with a new intention. It's not about denying what exists, but about looking with a different internal field. You choose to vibrate confidence, gratitude, openness to new possibilities. That is true intentional presence. When you place yourself in that frequency, something changes, not just within you, but around you as well. Small answers begin to appear. Opportunities that were previously invisible start to show up. People begin to see you differently. The flow starts to reorganize. This happens because the quantum field reads the intention behind your presence. It does not react to what you want. It responds to how you are while you desire. It's not about wanting strongly. It's about observing with emotional coherence. And maybe now, as you listen to this, you can already notice how many times in recent days you were present, but without clear intention. How many times you looked at situations in your life with a vibration of doubt, fear, resistance, and the field simply returned the reflection of that. The good news is that you can change this starting now. The choice is available, not tomorrow, not when circumstances improve, but now, at the exact moment you decide how you wish to observe what you are experiencing. And if this insight already makes sense to you, if somehow you feel that this understanding about intentional presence has shifted your way of looking at life, then I want to invite you. Take a deep breath, feel, and if you want to anchor this moment of conscious choice, leave in the comments, I choose to observe with intention. This will help fix this code in your consciousness and also create a collective vibration with all the other people on this journey. There is a space within you where time slows down, emotions lose their weight, and reality seems to enter suspension. This space is not empty, it's not apathy, and much less indifference. It is the state of the silent witness, an inner place where you observe everything that happens without the need to react, to control, or to change what is. Most people live in an automatic reaction mode. Something happens, and an emotional response immediately arises: fear, anger, frustration, anxiety. The body reacts. The mind fires off thoughts at high speed, and before consciousness even notices, we are already caught in another cycle of vibrational resistance. But the quantum field does not respond to the fact itself. It responds to your internal state while the fact happens. When you step into the role of the silent witness, something profound reorganizes. You stop adding more emotional charge to situations. You stop reinforcing old patterns with the same conditioned responses as always. Instead of reacting, you observe. Instead of fighting against, you witness. Instead of trying to control, you allow the flow to happen. And there, a new frequency is born. Inner silence does not mean absence of thought, but absence of identification with thoughts. It's not that the mind will stop producing images, ideas, or judgments, but you will stop clinging to them as if they were absolute truths. You start to watch your own mind, like someone observing clouds passing in the sky, without holding on, without getting lost. And it is in this state that the field starts responding in a completely different way, because inner silence is like a vibrational megaphone. The less you react, the more you amplify your capacity to influence reality. The less you fight, the more the universe starts showing you paths that were previously invisible. This process is based not only on spiritual principles, but also on neurological ones. When you sustain non-reaction, you activate areas of the brain linked to emotional self-regulation, clarity, and expanded perception. Your nervous system exits survival mode and enters a state of safety and presence. And it is from this state that synchronicities happen, that answers arrive, that the flow returns. How many times in recent times have you caught yourself reacting automatically? How many conversations have you had where, before even listening to the end, your mind was already creating defenses or preparing arguments? How many situations have you lived where, at the slightest sign of discomfort, you shut down, got irritated, or wanted to run away? Being a silent witness is the opposite of that. It is choosing, consciously, to remain, to be there, inside, without fighting, just feeling, just observing, just allowing the field to reorganize while you sustain your presence. And maybe, upon hearing this, you are feeling a mix of relief and challenge, because it's liberating to know that you no longer need to react to everything, but it's also challenging to realize how conditioned you still are to reacting. The important thing is to start. Practice in small situations. Breathe before responding. Observe before acting. Witness before deciding. And the more you do this, the more the universe will show you the power of this state. People around you will start to change their tone. Conflicts that previously seemed inevitable will simply lose their strength. Doors that seemed closed will start to open, because the field is always listening to your inner silence. But attention, this does not mean becoming passive or resigned. The silent witness is not apathetic. It is deeply active on a vibrational level. It is creating without needing to react. It is moving energy without needing words. There is a moment, almost imperceptible, when your observation ceases to be just a gaze and becomes a powerful energy transmission. This moment happens when what you observe starts to be charged by what you feel. It's the instant when your emotion merges with the focus of your consciousness, creating a kind of amplified field, capable of deeply influencing the reality around you. Many people talk about the importance of thoughts, of intentions, but what few truly understand is that emotion is the real fuel of manifestation. The quantum field does not react only to what you think. It responds to the vibrational charge that your emotion imprints as you observe a possibility. Imagine for a moment two people looking at the same scenario. One observes with fear, doubt, and resistance. The other observes with confidence, gratitude, and openness. Both are seeing the same external situation, but the field only responds to the emotional frequency being emitted behind each one's gaze. This happens because, biologically, every emotion generates an electromagnetic field around your body. Your heart, your brain, and even your cells vibrate at a certain frequency, depending on the emotion you sustain while observing something. And it's this frequency that communicates with the field of possibilities. Perhaps you've already experienced this intuitively. Moments when you were so emotionally connected to a desire, so involved in a feeling of certainty, that things began to happen almost magically. The right people showed up, coincidences aligned, doors opened. But the opposite is also true. How many times have you observed a situation filled with fear, anxiety, lack, and saw exactly that manifest, as if the universe were confirming your worst feelings? This is not punishment. It's not bad luck. It's just the field, responding with surgical precision to the emotional quality of your observation. Therefore, from now on, start noticing not just what you're looking at, but with what emotion you're looking. If you want healing, observe your body with love, not with fear. If you want prosperity, look at life with gratitude, not with scarcity. If you want new relationships, observe people with openness, not with distrust. The key here is not to force an artificial positive emotion. It's not about pretending to feel something you don't. It's about creating internal space to access true emotions that align with what you wish to manifest. Sometimes, this begins with small gestures, a gaze of compassion towards yourself, a moment of silent gratitude for something that already exists, a conscious breath as you visualize what you desire, feeling as if it's already happening. This is the vibrational alchemy that transforms your observation into an act of intentional creation. Because, deep down, the field doesn't read your eyes. It reads the emotional energy behind your gaze. And the more you practice, the faster the signs begin to appear, small movements in reality, indicating that your frequency has started to communicate more directly with the universe. And perhaps, hearing this, you're starting to notice how many times in the past you tried to manifest something, but did it from an emotionally misaligned place. You wanted prosperity, but vibrated scarcity. You wanted love, but vibrated lack. You wanted healing, but vibrated fear. From now on, each of your observations can become an intentional transmission of aligned emotion. This is much more than positive thinking. It's a conscious decision to inhabit the frequency of what you wish to live. There is a moment, silent, almost imperceptible, when all existing possibilities in the field stand before you, waiting for a single vibrational decision to collapse into reality. This moment happens now, every second, with every gaze, with every feeling, with every emotional choice you make, consciously or unconsciously. Quantum physics calls this the collapse of the wave function. But here, what matters is not the technical name. It's the living experience of knowing that the universe, in its infinite generosity of possibilities, is always awaiting your vibrational command to decide which reality will become tangible. What few realize is that this command does not come from words, nor from declared intentions, but from the state of consciousness you sustain while observing the world. Your gaze is the key that closes doors of infinite realities and opens only one, the one that corresponds to your vibrational field at that instant. If you observe with fear, the field collapses into scenarios of fear. If you observe with gratitude, it collapses into experiences of expansion. If you observe with doubt, life gives you more reasons to doubt. And if you observe with certainty, the universe responds with unexpected movements that confirm that certainty. Perhaps, until today, you believed that reality is something fixed, something that just happens, and that your role is merely to react to what arrives. But the truth is that you have never been just a spectator. You have always been, and always will be, the coder of your own reality. This means that even in the moments when you felt powerless, lost, or stuck in repetition cycles, the field was only returning, with mathematical precision, the frequency with which you were looking at life. And now, knowing this, you have a choice. You can continue looking at the world through the old lenses of scarcity, fear, resistance, or you can start, from today, to take the place of a conscious observer, someone who chooses, at each moment, where to place attention, how to charge emotion, and in what way to intend presence. Because the truth is that the universe is not testing you. It's not punishing you. It's not blocking you. It's only, all the time, responding to the vibrational code of your gaze. And if you feel that this is the moment to turn the key, to rewrite the field, to collapse new possibilities, then maybe the greatest decision you can make today is to start observing differently. Remember, you are not trapped. You were just looking from the wrong place. Reality is waiting for your next gaze. We've reached the end of our journey, and maybe now, everything makes a little more sense. Each code, each layer, each perception was in fact an invitation for you to start looking at your own life from a more conscious, more present, more vibrational place. What you observe, how you observe, and from where you observe continues creating your reality with or without your conscious permission. The difference is that now you know this. Now you have the choice to sustain focus, release judgment, intend your presence, witness in silence, feel with truth, and finally, collapse the reality you wish to live. If you've made it this far and feel that something inside you has already started to change, leave in the comments, "I am the observer of my reality." That way, I'll know that you were with me until the end and that you're ready to rewrite your field.